For Nigerians still having cold feet about visiting the United States, the spokesperson of the U.S. Embassy, Mr. Russell Brooks, has asked them not to have such fears. He explained that President Donald Trump's travel ban has been misinterpreted, as Nigerians with valid visas are welcome to the United States, but they will have to go through the proper border checks. Mr. Brooks revealed this when he visited Channels Television earlier today.
People shouldn't have cold feet, and I think it's probably a misinterpretation to contend that the difficulties that some people may have had in traveling to the United States is the responsibility of the current administration. I would say that, as you know, it can be difficult at times for certain people, depending on their qualifications, to obtain visas. For some people they may encounter difficulties in entering the United States because even with a visa, it's still the responsibility of the immigration official at the port of entry to determine whether or not that person can enter the United States. But I think also statistics show that the actual number of people who have encountered these difficulties are very, very small. So despite what you may have read in newspapers or heard on radio, on talk shows, etc., there's no reason for Nigerians to be reluctant or hesitant about visiting the United States. And we know from our statistics that a lot of people do. And obviously they are continuing to be educated there. They're continuing to do business there. And I don't see them deciding not to do that.
4 states in the South-South, Rivers, Cross River, Bayelsa and Akwa Ibom states, may experience 24-hour power cuts in the next 5 days. This is because the National Union of Electricity Employers have shut down operations of the Port Harcourt Electricity Distribution Company in Rivers State. The workers are protesting what they describe as an unfair treatment of employees and refusal of them to allow unionism in the electricity distribution company. The protesters, who were led by the national president of the union, Martins Uzoibu, told journalists that operations in the 4 states under the control of the PHEDC have been shut down until the company comes to the negotiating table. Meanwhile, the management of the Port Harcourt Electricity Distribution Company has expressed shock over the protest by the workers that led to the barricade of the offices in Rivers, Bayelsa, Cross River and Akwa Ibom states. In a statement signed by the spokesman of the company, John Onye, the PHEDC asked electricity consumers to bear with them, stating that although the demands of the protesters are not yet clear, efforts are on to open talks with the labour union. Governor Siraki Dixon of Bayelsa State has announced increased investment in affordable housing for residents of the state to reduce the deficit in the sector. Governor Dixon, who was speaking in Yenagoa, the state capital, promised that by the end of his tenure, there will be a visible improvement in the housing sector.
The policy we have adopted is for government from now, and that's what you'll be seeing. You'll be seeing estates come up one after the other from now till the end of the remainder of my tenure. Because these things are structured. I came prepared for governance. I came with full understanding of the challenges and programmed how to tackle this one after the other. We have taken education to a level. We have taken health care to a level. Security stabilized. Agriculture expanded. Now, tourism also expanded to a large extent. Now, while waiting for all of these to materialize and be synchronized, we're taking on housing, public housing. I want more people to own their own houses. That is key. And unfortunately, we've not seen too much of that in this state all these years. It's been, okay, housing estate for commissioners. Yeah, what of the other human beings? So now we want to do big time, low income housing development.
Governor Siraki Dixon of Bayelsa State. You're watching the news at 10. Time now to move on to business news with Ann Waudo.
You first. First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Gimba, and welcome to Business News. The Lagos State government says it has redeemed a 57.5 billion naira bond, and that's the second series under the state's initial 275 billion naira borrowing program, which was launched on the 31st of December 2008. The state's Commissioner for Finance, Mr. Adeyemi Ashade, says at the time of its issuance, the 57.5 billion naira bond was the first sub-national issuance to be undertaken by way of a book build. But so far, Lagos State has redeemed 107.5 billion naira of its outstanding bond, creating room for further issuances to help develop the state. The Central Bank of Nigeria today offered a total of $246.2 million to authorized dealers at a forex auction. And this is coming just days after the financial regulator created a forex window for investors and exporters to help boost liquidity and ease settlement for eligible transactions. A breakdown of the total offer indicates that $150 million was auctioned at the wholesale window, while SMEs and Invisibles got $52 million and $44.2 million each. CBN spokesman Isaac Okorafor says the forward sales will be concluded soon, and the weekly FX sales to Bureau de Change operators will continue. Let's talk about equities at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. It kicked off the last trading week in April with a very solid close as the CBN's new forex window for foreign investors stimulated the market. Let's hear more from BC Adebayo.
The broad index of the Nigerian Stock Exchange surged by over 2.2% at the close of Monday's trading. This is in response to price increases from some of the highly capitalized stocks, including Dangote Cement, which also pushed total market value up by 19 billion naira. The price chart saw a total of 18 gainers, led mostly by Lafarge, which saw a 10.24% increase in the share price after releasing a better than expected result in the first quarter. 11 losers were led by National Salt Company, Nat'l, and Nigerian Police Microfinance Bank, which lost nearly 5%. Total volume of shares traded at the close of trading was 211.75 million in 3,054 deals, worth over 1.4 billion naira. Diamond Bank, Transco, and Fidelity Bank were the top three actively traded equities for the day. And that's it on the stock market reports. I am BC Adebayo.
Thanks a lot, BC. And it's a strong close for U.S. equities today also, as three major markets hit an all-time high following the outcome of the first round of presidential election in France. VOA Channel's TV business correspondent Jill Malandrino has details from the Nasdaq market site in New York.
All three major averages in the U.S. opened sharply higher to kick off the week of April 24th, with the Nasdaq trading through a fresh all-time high. Stocks follow on the strength of European markets after centrist Emmanuel Macron and far-right leader Marine Le Pen are now set to face each other in a May 7th runoff for the French presidency after coming first and second in the first round of voting. The first round of the election tossed out the worst-case market scenario of Le Pen versus Mélenchon, as both had talked about France leaving the Eurozone. Macron and Le Pen both took around 23% of the vote. The euro paired gains after jumping around 2% versus the dollar overnight to highest levels that we've seen since November. Markets are also getting an additional boost after President Trump vowed to announce tax reforms this week. The S&P 500 are up about 1% throughout the session, while defensive assets such as gold and U.S. Treasury prices fell. With today's move, the S&P 500, Dow Jones Industrial Average, and NASDAQ are now in positive territory for April. Most of the strength is coming from financials following a positive mention in Barron's over the weekend. It believes bank stocks look attractive again after a recent 10% pullback, saying that bank capital returns in the coming year are likely to be among the best in any industry. Median earnings among large banks are expected to increase by high single digits this year, compared with 2% growth in each of the past 3 years, according to research firm Barclays. Now, looking ahead, it will be another very busy week of earnings, especially Thursday after the close, when we have 5 NASDAQ-listed heavyweights to all report: Amazon, Alphabet, Microsoft, Intel, and Starbucks. From the NASDAQ market site in New York, I'm Jill Malandrino, and this is VOA Channel's Business News.
Thanks a lot, Jill. We'll definitely see if that gets sustained. But major markets around the world also reacted to the result of the first round of the presidential election in France. They closed higher today, except, of course, for Asia, which ended in mixed sentiments. Let's see the numbers. Thanks a lot for watching Business News Tonight. I'm Anne Nwawado. The rest of the news at 10 continues with Gimba.
You first. First Bank.
The Nigerian liquefied natural gas is calling for policies that will help stimulate investment in Nigeria's gas sector. The managing director of the NLNG, Mr. Tony Atta, who was speaking at the presentation ceremony of the NLNG 2017 Facts and Figures, explained that the company is set to increase its supply volume of LPG cooking gas to the domestic market from 250,000 metric tons to 350,000 metric tons.
In a bid to ensure transparency and give account of its stewardship, the management and senior staff of the NLNG get together to present facts and figures for 2017.
Since inception, we have earned more than 90 billion in revenue. And as I said, we were bettered as a result of the NLNG Act. We have contributed more than $5.5 billion to Nigeria in taxes. And of course, in terms of purchase of the gas from upstream, we have spent more than $13 billion buying gas, which is also contributing to the development of the industry upstream.
In keeping with its mandate to help build a better Nigeria, which includes the generation of $90 billion revenue and tax payment of $5.5 billion, reduction of gas flaring from 65 to 20%, and creation of 18,000 jobs. However, the Deputy Managing Director of the NLNG is worried that attempts to amend the NLNG Act might impede the plans.
The levy that oil and gas producing companies upstream actually need to pay for producing oil, 3% of their budget, of their annual budget.
Going forward, the NLNG management explains how it intends to achieve the target of boosting its shipping capacity and its mission to help build a better Nigeria.
This year, my projection is really that we deliver energy to the world. This time around, we aim to push out about 304 cargoes of LNG.
We have our fingers and indeed our hands in so many pies of development around the country, some of which you may be very familiar with. You're familiar with the Nigeria Prize for Science. You're familiar with the Nigeria Prize for Literature. You're familiar with the myriad of scholarships that we give.
The NLNG says it's set in its mission to help maximize Nigeria's gas potentials in terms of increasing revenue and also move from the 9th largest gas reserve to the 4th largest in the world.
And still ahead on the news at 10, Technical Committee clears 32 schools to participate in Lagos preliminaries of the Channel's National Kids Cup. And that's in sports. Stay with us.